Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Grief, the emotional shitstorm you never signed up for. My name is Margaret. I am a women's life empowerment and holistic grief coach, and I am here to take you on a journey to help support you with your grief. And today I am very excited. I have my very first guest on the podcast. Her name is Betty Jean Ward, and she is here to share some really interesting information with you. Before we get started, Betty, I'm just going to read your bio so that people know who we're going to be talking with today. All
Okay.
right, here we go. Betty Jean is the author of the new book, They're Still With Us: How to See Your Signs of Love from Your Deceased Loved Ones, coming out on Amazon this coming Friday, April 18th. So, since we're launching this on Thursday, it'll be on tomorrow. So, keep your eyes on Amazon. And in there are stories of the different forms her deceased loved ones took to communicate with her from beyond the veil. Betty Jean has been published twice in Guidepost and Good Old Days magazines, detailing her parents' meeting and how they built their family. Betty Jean is also a graduate of the Institute of Children's Literature and has written a children's story named House and Jewel, which she wants to get published. She has also written 3 adult fiction novels, one of which is entitled The Spirit Committee, and hopes to have it published in the future. She also has a weekly newsletter on LinkedIn called Metaphysical Teaching Tidbits. This covers everything from using oracle cards, cardomancy, I always have a hard time with that word, and her own spiritual insights. She is originally from Pennsylvania and is currently residing in Largo, Florida, where she works as an accounts payable specialist in Health Trust. Welcome, Betty Jean.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm very excited because this is a topic I think that a lot of people don't talk about publicly. They get, they're afraid of the shame and the judgment of seeing signs of their loved ones who have passed. And I think it's a topic we need to talk about because it
Yes.
does happen.
Mm-hmm.
So let's kick it off with the first question that I have for you today.
Okay.
And that is, do you feel that people need to believe in the afterlife in order to relate to your new book?
Yeah, I think they do because if they get signs, they're not going to know that it's a sign. They're just going to ignore it, say it's a coincidence, it's my imagination. They might even say something to somebody, and then they're going to be like, "Oh, that's just this," and then they'll lose their sign. So I
Okay.
think you really need to believe your loved ones move on, and they can communicate with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. I
Mhm.
know I've had my own experiences. I'll talk about them a little bit later in our podcast today.
Uh-huh.
But a lot of people that I know have had experiences and had signs come to them. Some of them, it's been sort of a surprise, and then they start believing because they'd really questioned before. But others
Mhm.
almost start looking for the signs, right? Because they
Yeah,
know
yeah.
that they're there. So I see that there's people on different camps in the same spectrum. Those who absolutely believe that there is, the signs and spirit in the afterworld that will come and they will see it, and those that are so skeptical. And
Yeah.
so it's very interesting to discuss how that might happen. So, in your book, you talk about signs, which we were just talking
Uh-huh.
about. How do you know you've received a sign from your loved ones and not wonder whether it's just a coincidence or your imagination?
Well, it resonates with you. It might resonate to an event you had with the loved one. It might be around a certain special time. Like my father came to me around my 50th birthday, and he came to me as a student. He was always a student at heart. He would always study his art books and his piano books. So it's no wonder he came to me as a student. But when I ran into him, it was like he was asking me what time it was. And we had won the lottery on my birth time. And the lottery time was always 7 o'clock. So when he came to me, it was 7 o'clock, and he was saying, "Do you know what time it is?" I said, "Seven." He went, "O'clock?" I went, "Yeah." And then he went back the way he came. It's like he already came up to as far as where I was. I met him outside when I was going to work. And I was like, "That's awful odd." And he looked like a student to me. So the
Okay.
following week, when he came to me again. He was closer this time. We ran into each other at the bottom of my steps. And he said, "Do you know what time it is?" I said, 7 o'clock. And he went, "Oh, thanks." And he walked away and he went back the way he came again. And I said, "Something's up with 7 o'clock. Am I supposed to play the lottery or something?" And then I started piecing it together. It was around my birthday. 7 o'clock's the lottery time. I said, "Ah," and it's my 50th birthday. And here he comes to say happy birthday to me. And
Oh,
remember when
wow.
we hit the lottery.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Um, Now I was reading through your manuscript that you shared with me. It was very interesting. You've got some incredible stories.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to throw this question in. We haven't asked this. I didn't prep you for this one. I'm sorry. But there was this you went through, like, if anyone's going to be reading Betty Jean's book, it's got all different chapters about different types of signs, like the experiences that you've had. So there was talking about dragonflies, spirits, black crow, rabbit, squirrel, Brandy, your dog coming back, this
Yeah.
necklace. So it's a mix. What I got from that was that the signs that you've been receiving and connecting with your loved ones who've passed come in all different forms. So can you
Yes.
talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, that's why you need to be aware of how they're going to communicate with you
Mhm.
because they can come in different forms. They're not going to come back the way you remember them. Like they're not going to go, "Oh, I'm here," and then you pass out or something. No, they can come back in animal form, human form. They'll come back on like a song on the radio, letting you know they're with you. You could see something out in the world on a bulletin board, TV. So you have to be more aware of what they're trying to communicate with you. Like, don't disregard it. If you're
Mhm.
thinking of your loved one, then they could be right there and give you a sign right then and there. A song
Mhm.
could come on the radio and go, "Oh, that's their favorite song." You might like cry or something, but really they're just saying hello. They're just
Yeah. Oh, that's
so
beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah. Now I know from my daughter. So she was a twin.
Uh-huh.
She's a twin, and her brother
Right.
passed away when
Yeah.
just a few days after they were born, which I think most of my audience knows. And if you don't,
Yes.
now you do. Um,
Uh-huh.
which but he'll come to her, like he'll flicker her lights in her bedroom, and
Yes.
and
Yes.
he will hide her bunny rabbit. And
Yes.
it's really they, she talks to him all the time, but it's really interesting when she's like, "Oh, mom, Isaac's flickering my lights again," or he's
Yeah.
hidden my bunny. And I found there have been times where I've been looking for something and I'm like, "Oh
Uh-huh.
my gosh, where is my, XYZ?" And I'll look
Yeah.
everywhere and my desk will be totally clear and I'll be looking, can't find it. I turn around, come back, and there it is. And I'm
Yes.
like,
Yes.
"Oh, so you were hiding it. Thank you very much." And
Yeah.
I
They
just
like to
find
play
this,
games.
they do, they do. And I just wanted to share another experience that I had. And I think some of our listeners might resonate with this one as well. My grandmother passed, my mom's mom passed in 1996, on Mother's Day, actually, of all
Mhm.
days. And my mom and I were with her. She was in the hospital, and it was actually one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had because she had been suffering, but to watch her finally be at peace was beautiful. The sun was shining through the window. She looked 20 years younger after she had passed, and it was just a beautiful moment. Sad, very sad. I was really close to my grandmother, and her death, it hit me really hard. I was very, very upset, and I'd been very close to her. And I would find myself sitting in the car crying, or it would just be overwhelming. And I'm not sure, and my timeline could be off. It was either 4 months after or a year and 4 months after, but it was in an August, and she passed
Mhm.
in May. And May, June, July, August. Yeah, okay, 3 months. But I remember I'd just been really distraught and I'd been really sad, and I had this dream and it was so vivid. And she was
Mm.
standing there, and her husband, who had passed before her, and my mom's sister, who had passed before her, were standing with her. And she just looked at me and she said, "Margaret, I'm okay. I'm where I want to be. I'm where I need to be." And ever since that moment, I felt much more at peace. But
Yes.
it was so vivid, and I'm like, "Oh, that was just a dream," but it was more than a dream. It was very, very, very vivid. And so, if any of our
Yes.
listeners out there, or anyone who's watching the podcast has experienced something like that, know that it was probably a sign.
Yes. Yes. It was a
Mhm.
visit.
It was definitely a visit. And that one meant a lot to me, right? And some
Hmm.
people I talk about it and I share it with people and they go, oh my gosh, you're crazy. And other people, they're like, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so then you get those two camps, right? Those who believe and
Yeah.
those that are skeptical. And that's okay. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter which camp you're in, just something to know
No.
that's out there. All
Right.
right. So I have
Right.
another question for you, Betty Jean. Are
Okay.
there certain times that you will receive a sign?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll get it. Like my father came back at my 50th birthday. And
Mm-hmm.
then one time, my brother was dying of cancer, and I was going to help him. Like I was going up
Mm-hmm.
there at night because we're in the same mobile park. We were in the same mobile park. And my sister came back as a man, and she had just passed away maybe 6 months before. And
Mm.
I was always saying to people, like, are we having fun? Are we having fun? Like, just to take the stress out. And I used to say it to her, and she used to freak out, like, no, I'm not having fun. But I got out of the car in his driveway, and there was a car there, an old 50s blue Chevy, like one of those 50s cars. And I'm like, where'd that come from? And this man, he looked like he had stringy, greasy hair, and he looked heavy set. And he leans over the seat and he goes, are we having fun? And I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah. He goes, oh, good. And he drove away. And I'm watching the car go up the road. I'm like, what was that about? I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't like cutting the lawn or anything. Like I'm having fun doing that. And so I just kind of left it go. And then I went in to see my brother and got distracted. I don't think I even mentioned it to him. But when I start working on the book, I remembered that, and I said, "Oh my God, that was her giving me a little dig. Like, are we having fun now?"
Wow.
Because yeah,
And
they'll come
that's
back at certain times.
and so specific too. Like the signs that you're
Mhm.
talking about, like with your dad with the 7 o'clock and your
Yeah,
sister with Are You Having Fun? Very
yeah,
particular, right? And very connected to
right,
the people that you've lost. Wow.
yeah.
I have a girlfriend of mine who sees cardinals all the time. And I know
That's my sister.
cardinals.
She sees cardinals right after her
Mhm.
husband died. Now she sees cardinals.
Yeah. And I see
Yeah.
them more now when I'm
Hmm.
paying attention. And I will, I'll be thinking of my son, and all of a sudden, boom, there's a cardinal. And I was like, oh, there you are. You're
Yeah. Yep.
here.
Hmm.
And I find it comforting. I think
Yes.
it for me,
Yes.
it doesn't freak me out. It makes me feel like they're still here in spirit and still around
Oh,
and I'm still
yeah.
connected. And I love that. I love that.
Yes. Yes.
All right. I have
Yeah.
another question for you. You know I do.
Ooh,
Okay.
I
Do
know.
you feel that everyone can get a sign, or do you have to be a psychic or have special abilities?
No, you don't have to have any special abilities. You just have to be more aware of what's happening around you. Like, pay
Okay.
attention to what you're thinking and what happens after that. Like, if you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking of your loved one and all of a sudden you see something that relates to them, that's them. They're saying,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'm here. You don't have to worry. I'm right here with you.
Yeah.
So I used to, sometimes I'll go outside and I'll see butterflies. And I'll
Mm.
think, yeah. I said, yeah, you're with me. Or a dragonfly will hover around me. And I'll be like, yeah, hi, Jim.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, you don't have to be psychic. You just have to be more aware of what you're thinking and the signs they're giving you. And be
Mm-hmm.
aware of how they would communicate with you. Like,
Right.
remember their personalities and how they would
Mm-hmm.
like be funny around you, or like my
Yeah.
mom comes to me sometimes in the kitchen. I can hear her in my head. Like, I'll be making a salad and I'll go to put the dressing on, and she'll say, now don't drown it. And I'm thinking, that's not my thought, that was her. And I'll have a good laugh over it.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
funny. I have a
Yeah.
friend of mine. I have a friend of mine who is a DJ,
Mhm.
and she lost a really close friend of hers, and he was also a DJ. And so their connection was very much through music.
Mhm.
And he passed, I think, it was a little bit over a year ago. And there are times she'll be driving and she'll be like, oh my goodness, like I miss you so much. And she'll turn the radio on and it'll be a song that the two of them had found real, like connected
Yep.
over.
Yep.
And so, and she gets those signs all the time.
Yeah,
all
yeah,
the time. Every time she thinks about him and is missing him, something happens. And I thought,
yes,
wow, that's just, something that
yeah,
you can't make that up. Like it
no,
happens, right? But you're
no,
paying attention. Some people would turn it on and not even notice the connection. But like you
right,
said, if you're aware of it and you're open to it, you will see
yes,
it, right?
mm-hmm,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, mm-hmm.
So here's another question. What do you feel people should do when they receive a sign?
Just say, thank you. Thank the loved one for coming through to you. Record it, write it down because you'll be getting a lot of different signs. And
Mm-hmm.
you can see that you're getting signs if you record them.
Right.
Yeah, just be aware that, what's going on around you and thank them for coming to you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, Brandy came back to me in a restaurant, and there was no dogs allowed in this restaurant, and I didn't understand. And I was feeling bad because I had to put her down, and I felt bad that I had to do that. But a Papillon came walking in with a family, and I was like, "That's Brandy." And then I was like, "Oh my God, there's no dogs allowed in this restaurant." And that really resonated with me. Like I
Mm-hmm.
knew that that was her. Like I could have
Yeah.
seen a Papillon out in the street and wouldn't have thought twice about it. But
Mm-hmm.
since it was in a restaurant and dogs weren't allowed, I knew that was her sign to me saying, "Hey, I made it back." Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. But record your signs because you'll be getting a lot of them. And then you can
Mm-hmm.
see that they're communicating with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's magical. Magical.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people, it's very comforting to know that the signs are out there
Mm-hmm.
and to know that, yes, their loved one has passed, but they're not, their
Gone.
spirit's still around. Their spirit
Yeah.
is still there. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the people I work with are very open to that and they see the signs. And I
Yes.
say the same as you, write them down, record them, see what comes up and when for you. And
Right.
I think for a lot of people, seeing these signs is really comforting.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
just to know
Yes.
that, the spirit's still around and that their physical body has left, but their
Right.
spiritual body is still around because we're a soul, we're a spirit. We come into a body, we go out of a body, but
Yes.
it's that flow. And
Right.
I think for a lot of people it is very, very comforting. So yeah, thank you for sharing all of this. I have a
Yeah.
couple more questions before we finish up for today, but
Okay.
I think some people who are listening would be curious to know, how old were you when you started seeing signs of past loved ones?
Well, I think I was 11 when I first seen my sign, but wasn't aware it was a sign. It was my
Okay.
aunt at my brother's wedding.
Right.
And she had passed away from cancer, and she always wanted to go to his wedding. That's all she kept saying. I want to make it to Frank's wedding. I want to make it. And she passed away before his wedding. But then this woman showed up at this wedding and was acting very strange and acted just like her, telling jokes and everything. And I didn't realize it at the time until later when my father came to me at my 50th birthday and I started recording my signs. I said, that woman was a sign. So I'd say around 11 years old, I got a sign
Mm-hmm.
that, it was her coming back. And then at
Yeah.
50, it seemed to start at 50 when my father came back. And then after my sister passed, she came back. My brother started giving me signs. And
Mm-hmm. Do you think
yeah,
that maybe at 50 you started to be more open to exploring
yes,
that side? And it has sort
yeah,
of like you hadn't really been looking from, up
right,
until that time? Okay.
right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was probably getting signs all along, but I was just too busy to notice them. But at 50,
Mm-hmm.
that really resonated with me when he kept saying, "What time is it? What time is it?" And I'm thinking, what's this kid doing? But
Yeah.
I couldn't tell anybody because, of course, I would lose the sign then. They would
Mm.
say, "Oh, you're
Oh,
nuts. That's just some kid, crazy kid." And maybe I
mm-hmm.
would have said that, but I was more aware at that time that they were around me. So,
Okay.
yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Wow. All
Yeah.
right. So, Betty Jean, as we come to wrapping up for today, what is the one thing that you would want our audience to walk away with?
To know that their loved ones never died, they're always with them. And just be aware that they are with you. don't keep thinking of when they died. They don't want you to think of when they died because that was
Mm-hmm.
just their transition period.
Mm-hmm.
They're still with you. So that's why I would want people to, like, don't stop living because they stopped living. They haven't stopped living. They're
Mm-hmm.
still living and they're living with you. So don't ignore them. You can talk to them, say hi once in a while. Or I asked my dad and my brother to help me if I have to do something around the house. I'm like, oh, you guys are going to have to help me with this. And usually they do. I can get it done. So, yeah, just remember that they didn't die. They're still with
Mm-hmm.
you. Energy never dies.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. Beautiful.
Hmm.
Well, thank you so much, Betty Jean, for being with us
Thank
today.
you.
And just a reminder that her new book, They're Still With Us, is coming out on Friday, April 18th on Amazon. So go ahead and I will put the link down in the description below so that people can go to that as well. And I'll put all the information on how to connect with Betty Jean in our description as well. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for
And
having me.
yeah. So for everybody out there, thank you for listening for today. Feel free to connect with Betty Jean and go out and check out her book. And so until next time, when we come back for our next episode of Grief, the Emotional Shitstorm You Never Signed Up For. Have a great day.
Bye.